Okay, now it's live.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm still getting the questions.
I got them. The
Oh,
first question is, what does love mean for these writers?
Love. Well, for the shorter version, just like how she explained, like love to that author was like something that you can get in return, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I love you because you do this for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
because, well, it probably was that they loved him more than just because of that, but that was the only way that they could express why they loved them.
Yeah. I liked how it talked in the second reading about like, or I don't know what order they were, but what's her name? Selecal or whatever?
Oh, yeah, that was a longer one. Renata.
Yeah, the longer one. Yeah. And she was talking, oh yeah, Renata, about like how beauty is like, or the how love is like attributed to someone. Or no, that was the first one.
Yeah.
I
Right?
think that was
Okay, yeah.
I think that was the second one.
Oh my gosh, I'm mixing them up now. I read them yesterday, so it feels like forever ago.
Yeah, because the second one talks about how you can apply love to someone. It's like almost like an inanimate object.
Yeah.
That's
And
better
how
to say.
and how you can like love someone even
She said
without them
that
being actually there.
it's better to say I send love and send to love. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird to think about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the first
I
article was a
love to you,
little
that's what it says.
interesting.
Yeah, I love to, yeah.
Love to you.
Kind of like how the love that was expressed is more for like personal pleasure, like it's more satisfying for them, I guess. It's
Yeah.
both ways, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, this reading was so long.
It was a little bit
Yeah.
confusing because like I could see how I love to you shows like just an action, but then later in the article it started talking about like us and we. Like I like the thought that like I love like with you more than like to you, because then it just seems like a one-way action instead of like a relationship that is interconnected and that both people are loving.
Yeah.
hmm And I think the first one, I talked about how love is, I don't know, different in every case, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And I think the second question is, how does love affect the way we see another person? And I think that it affects, obviously, the way we see another person, because if we love someone, then we're going to see that person in a different light. We're going to see less of their bad things and more of the good things about that person.
Yeah, you tend to like not even pay attention to things that, or like qualities that you never really liked in anybody.
Yeah,
You tend to push them to the side.
it's true. Hey Sam. I also thought it was
Okay.
interesting the story that they told about like the guy that just kept imagining, or the book that the guy kept imagining how his relationship was, that he couldn't even be with her. He didn't even want to like go and talk to her because he just had this reality in his head of how things were, and he was happy with that. So he was in love with like what his mind had made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of make an illusion of what you actually love, and maybe
Yeah.
that person becomes that illusion over time.
Mhm.
Samson, turn on your mic. Samson, your mic is off.
Or leave it off.
Oh yeah, just listen. He's like staring at me.
I know it's frozen, is it?
I think it's frozen.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
He's listening so intently.
Weirdo.
Just mad dogging everyone.
In the first reading, it talked a lot about like how society roles or like social roles, like the 19th century, played a big part of how someone expressed their love to each other. Like kind of like how Burke's whole view was like what beauty does for him, it usually entices the love that comes after, or pleasure that comes after. But in the first story,
his relationship was that he couldn't even be with her. He didn't even want to like go and talk to her because he just had this reality in his head of how things were, and he was happy with that. So he was in love with like what his mind had made it.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing the same thing I am?
I know. I was like, what is
What's
that?
happening? I was like,
You repeated what we said like 2 minutes ago.
I wasn't talking, I swear. I was listening to you.
Is it? Can you guys hear me? Sorry, my thing is so weird. I don't know if it's working.
Just let so much people like lag so much. He's like staring at me.
I know, it's frozen. It's repeating everything that we were saying.
Okay. Yeah, let the repeat go. Weirdo.
Bad talking, everyone.
The first reading, it talked a lot about like how society roles or like social roles, like the 19th century, played a big part of how someone expressed their love to each other. Like kind of like how Burke's whole view was like what beauty does for him, it usually entices the love that comes after, or pleasure that comes after. But in the first story, his relationship was that he couldn't even be with her. He didn't even want to like go and talk to her because he just had this reality in his head of how things were. He was happy with that. So he was in love with
I can barely hear anything.
No, everything's echoing our conversations from before. What the heck? Okay, I think it's done.
Is it done?
Okay, the echo is done, guys.
That was super strange.
Oh my gosh.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
I think so. I was trying to add the group, and I think I pushed the wrong. Like it must have been like a playback because it was like playing back your old discussion.
Yeah, it pretty much did.
That was strange.
Sorry, my fault.
It's okay.
But, anyway, keep going.
Yeah, what I was just saying was like, for the Renata reading, the longer reading, it said a lot about how like even though someone could have love for each other, it was more of how society viewed things, that sometimes they kept that from each other instead of expressing it like how they really wanted to. It was more of like, oh, we're from different social classes, so we can't love each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like society played a big role on how love was expressed.
Yeah.
They really tried to keep up to the standards of how lives were viewed back then. Like especially like how they dressed, their houses, and if their house had like china sets, like it said something in there about that, like. And then how the other story of the butler, how like his whole job, like he could never express love to the lady that he had because his first and only job was to be the best butler without asking any questions and things like that. And he put his job over his love for the lady that he loved, or something like that.
But it also seemed like that story is kind of how it is in the movies nowadays.
Yeah.
You see the guy and he's like trying to cover up his love for her because he like
it'll never work out, or
yeah, and so he talks about how she needs to come back because the staff we need you.
Find other excuses.
Yeah, and then like
I love you.
The guy is like, no, like you're too old to be interested in women, and he's like trying to cover up his love. Like I can totally see how that is reflected in movies today, like, and we just take it all for granted. We just think it's a funny story, but like, I mean, it has a much deeper meaning here.
Yeah, definitely.
The part I liked about that long reading, I guess, it talks about like the burning love, like even when the person's not there, like you're still thinking about them. Just that image will last, and it's not just. I guess it's more than just the physical love. It's just the reflecting and always thinking about that person. I think it talked about it being like very compassionate, lovable, I like that part. How it's even when they're not there, you still love them no matter what.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know, that kind of, I feel like that's how it is for people that do long distance relationships.
Yeah.
Like
That's me
they
right now.
still, they still love the person that they're have the relationship with, but from a distance.
Yeah. So like I guess like love doesn't need to physically be there.
Yeah.
And kind of said that in one of the writings.
Hmm.
Kind of more just the thought of the person.
Yeah, like whether or not they agree or disagree. Like as long as you love them, the thought is there. Whether they deny you, you still love them.
Mm.
hmm one of the questions was, does this necessarily need to happen as far as these writers are concerned when it's asking about how
I
love
love.
affects another person?
I feel like maybe back then, yeah, it's something that needed to happen because I feel like they're still trying to define like social classes and just define their places in life, I guess. So like in the longer one, like it did need to happen because the way they're viewed from the outside was probably more important than love at the time. And like I guess like it's just how they're raised, I guess. Like put your emotions to the side because it's not as important.
Mm.
hmm
I don't know.
What I first thought of is like, because love affects the way we see people. Like you were saying that we kind of push the things, the qualities that aren't the best in them aside, and we still love them regardless of their weaknesses or their like the bad parts of them. And I think that needs to happen because we all have those weaknesses. Like we all have parts of us that aren't always so attractive to other people. But like to love someone and not care about those, that needs to happen, or else like the human race would just diminish, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in movies you always see like that. I guess that cheesy love, how like they fall in love and everything's perfect and the relationship's good, and then like I see more like with my friends and our relationships. Like at first, like you might like each other, yeah, you might think you're attractive, but then it's spending time with that person, like doing things together, going through the ups and downs of the relationship. That's where like love really bonds, or like that's where love is created. Is I think through experiences, being with the person long enough definitely builds that love stronger than just looks, I guess. Because looks is always good, but it's the trust, I think, is what really makes love for me.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I liked how you said love is created because like I guess like because you're initially attracted to someone and then you kind of create that bond where love eventually comes around. And I feel like that's like a good example of how love affects the way we see others because you probably only love them or not love them. You probably only like them at first because of the way they looked. And then getting to know them, you got to know them more and then it created love and that totally changes your view of how the person looked from the beginning till then. You know what I mean? So like you end up not just loving them for how they first initially looked, but loving them for other qualities that you had no idea that they had.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
true.
in one of the articles we kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
How at the beginning it's mostly attraction to that person, like physical, and then later on it becomes more for their attributes, other attributes.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know. Did you guys are you guys all dating? Sorry, I'm
Uh,
married already.
I,
Like at first like
I just
what I guess what attracted you to your other partner?
For me, like, so I'm dating my girlfriend. It's been like a year and a half, but we
Oh,
first
what you
met
waiting
as
for?
friends. Yeah, I know we're deciding this is the right relationship. Anyway, so I guess we just started dating like because we've been hanging out a lot with just friends, mutual friends. We went hiking, go beach. So a lot of times we were just hanging out with other people, and then all of a sudden like we started hanging out like one on one, and then that's where like I kind of fell in love with her. So then that's when we started dating. So yeah, and then I asked her the same like, hey, like how'd you feel when we first met? And she said she thought she liked me, but she didn't think it was anything special. And then it wasn't until after like we hung out a lot, like a year later, that we started dating. And so
Oh, so cute.
Wow.
I
That's
guess
so
it
cool.
was taking a while to create.
Aw.
What about you guys?
Yeah. Well, I'm dating someone. I just got engaged.
Oh, congrats.
Congratulations!
Thanks.
That's
Yeah.
so cute.
And I don't know. We first met, and I guess it was kind of like I liked how she was personally, like her personality.
Mhm.
And then she was also attractive. I was obviously attracted to her, but as time goes on, I came to love her more for her attributes, personality, and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of how I was. Like, so I met my boyfriend almost a year ago, and it was funny because like I was really attracted to him, but like I stopped because he was with some of my other friends, and I like stopped and I was like, "Do I know you?" And I swear time stopped. I was like, I thought I knew him, and he was like, "No."
Yeah.
And so there was like almost an instant connection. It was crazy, and so I feel like that had a lot to do with it, like kind of putting the wheel into motion, and then yeah, from there like it was his personality and like his dreams, like they're the same as mine, and like there's a word for it in Chinese called yo yuan, which means like it, or mo qi, which means it's like almost I can't describe it really, but it's like destiny, but it's deeper than that.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like it's like that.
What do you say? How do you say it in Chinese? Wo wen? Wo
Mo
chen?
qi
Wo
or
chen.
yo yuan, either one.
Oh, my girlfriend's Chinese, so I'll have to tell her that.
Oh, yeah. Tell her. Be like, this is mochi, and she'll be like,
My story is like totally opposite of your guys's.
really?
I think I was more of I was worried about what other people thought. It's so bad of me. But my husband and I, we grew up together, same community. We've known each other since elementary. And we were totally different crowds. And for me, it's like, it was after we graduated. It was like a year after we graduated. We haven't seen each other since high school, and like that was when I was like, oh wow, you're actually pretty good looking. But like in my head, I was like, I don't know, because in high school we were totally different crowds, and my friends might think this about you, and like I don't know, I just had that whole view of high school still in my head, and it's so sad that I had to get my friends' approval to finally like, oh, I like you. So sad, but like I guess I can agree with the first reading that like yeah, the beauty of him kind of sparked my interest, but I also let society get in the way of pursuing anything. And
That's so
like I guess
cute.
that is a struggle to even wanna say the word I love you because you're so worried about what others will think. But once you get past that, man, love is love is undefining.
Oh,
You're always constantly learning new things.
How long have you been married?
June makes 2 years, but
oh,
we've been dating, or like we've been together for 6.
wow. 4 years. Man, that's crazy.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Now back to our question. Next one. It says, do you agree with the definitions of love that these writers use?
I think that I can agree with some of them. Some of the definition was kind of went off in other places, but I agree that using love, I don't know, it's kind of a difficult word to place. A lot of people believe like in love is more significant than love, and I mean, in other languages it's different. In Spanish, there's two ways to say it, and I don't know. I just think that I agreed with some of the stuff that was said in it, and then other stuff I was just kind of on the fence about it. I didn't necessarily agree or disagree with it.
Mhm.
I thought that was interesting that it was talking about how love can be like an inanimate object, and you can love the idea of someone or something that that person does, or the attributes of that person.
Mhm.
I think the one where it says I love to you, is that what it says? I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
It kind of confused me at first, like that two part, but after reading it a little bit more, I like how it says your love towards that person isn't like it's a object. It's more than that. It's indirect. It's not direct. So I think I kind of agree with that definition, saying that the love has to be known as a force. Okay, it's not like you're loving an object. It's a living being. You know, it's more than just you love something for now or temporary. It's something that will last. And yeah, I think the other definition was a little confusing, but that's the one I really liked. Was I love to you was something that
Yeah.
stood out.
I I was reading it and it says like I love to you means like I don't love you for a direct object nor an indirect object, but it's like my love for you is rather like something that revolves around me or around myself. So like if I love you, it's because it's serving a purpose for me only. I think that's what I got from it, and I don't really agree with that either. I like the longer the longer stories definition of love, like how all like you can still love someone even though they're not there, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really like the love to you as much because it's still like a one-way thing, and I feel like love is two ways. Um, so I mean, it was good more than like seeing somebody as an object. You're seeing them like as somebody that you love. And also in the second one, it talked about, well, my interpretation of the second one was different than what I think Sister Ho put in here.
Yeah, yeah,
She wrote that the definition in the second article was love has a lot to do with language. So love happens as we say the word.
yeah,
I don't really agree. I feel like love is more like a feeling or something that we put the word to.
yeah,
Like we put the word love to
agree-
that, and so
I
we
agree with
don't
that.
necessarily.
yeah. I agree with that too.
And so I kind of agree with that.
I feel
Like
like
she says, until we put words into it, it isn't love. But I don't really think so.
I feel like you can tell if you love someone or if they love you just through actions, and
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot of times people don't go to actually saying it until they feel comfortable saying it. So it's kind of obvious that that
a lot of
person loves
thought.
you or not, or if you love that person by how you act.
Yeah. And you don't necessarily have to think like, oh, I love them. Like
Yeah, you have to force
it's a
yourself to give up
feeling.
things and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we're very logical creatures, but
Yeah,
we're also emotional. We don't have to think the word love in order to love someone.
true. And you don't need to like say it to know that you love that person.
Yeah.
Usually like a mutual understanding. Like even for me and my husband, like we don't even say I love you every day. It's just like you know I love you. I don't need to say it. Like he gets down on me too sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, say I love you back. And he's like, you already know I love you. I'm like, okay, yeah, you don't need to say it for me to know. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't need to be said.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it shows that it's like love is dedication. Like you're dedicating your life to that person. So it says like I guess something I found. It says when I marry you, it's not that like I take you as my wife. I take you as mine. It's more that like I hope to be with you now and forever, like in the future. And it's that you want to be with them and be faithful to them. So it's definitely dedicating that you're gonna be faithful. You're gonna be with them, and that one only person. So love is deep.
Yep.
Deep words.
I feel like I'm in like church right now. Having a discussion.
It's a good one.
So I always feel
Discussion.
with these discussions.
I know, even also like with the whole topic of beauty.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like in Relief Society trying to say how much my husband loves me and this is why he loves me.
There's a lot of revelation here.
But yeah. So Samson, you're in here. I said I could do this write up. So
Okay.
pretty much our Google Hangout for today. That was the last question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
see you guys when the next Hangout is. I always try to look ahead, but because of the critical paper, I didn't even look ahead to when the next Google Hangout was.
Same. You're fine. No worries.
We did it! Yay!
Yeah, thanks
Over.
for
Alright. See you all
inviting
next
us.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.